Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, 28 September, year 2007. We are going to study another diamond-like discourse, not diamond discourse, but it is very much like diamond, very powerful, meaning, full of meaning. And I don't think you will forget this title of this discourse. It is called Chanki Sutta. You remember peanut butter, chunky peanut? If you remember that, you will never forget this discourse. And the material we are going to cover also is unforgettable material. For these two reasons, you will not forget, should not forget this discourse. So Buddha, on his traveling, he traveled to Kosala state, and wherever he went, his reputation heralded him. Her reputation goes before he went. And everybody began to talk about the Buddha. Now he is very famous. He is a celebrity now. Everybody knows of him. And even before he went there, people started talking about him. So, then Buddha stayed in a place called Opasada, in a forest called Devavana. Devavana is translated as a God's grove. Perhaps many devas might have been going there for picnicking. So when the Buddha went and stayed there, then there was a Brahmin called Chanki ruling over Opasada, and that was the crown property. That was rich grassland, woodland, waterways, grains, and royal endowment. This king, what do you call this, Chanki, is the owner of that property given by King Kosala for his service, because this man must have been very obedient, loyal, a servant of King Kosala, so he gave this as a gift. So he was living there. Then Opasada heard, you may turn to Sutta 91, what he had heard. He heard about the Buddha, and this is the reputation. These are the things he heard about the Buddha. The recluse Gosama, the son of Sakyans, who went forth from a Sakyan clan, has been wandering in the country of the Videhans, with a large, in this case, in the large country of Opasada's country, not Videha, with a large sangha of bhikkhus, 500 bhikkhus. These numbers we have to accept with little pinch of salt, because they rounded figures, there must have been large number of bhikkhus going with the Buddha. Because if 500, 600 bhikkhus invade the village would go bankrupt because they have to feed all these monks. So it certainly must have been large number of bhikkhus. Now a good report of Master Gautama has been spread to this effect. The Blessed One is accomplished, fully enlightened, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, exalted. This is what we say, itipiso bhagava araham samma sambuddho, etc. This is the translation of that passage. Each of these words needs a great deal of explanation to understand them fully, but our time is so limited, I refrain from going into detailed explanation of these words. But just remember, this is the translation of that passage. And he declares this world with its gods, its Maras and the Brahmins, the generations with its recluses and Brahmins, with its princes and its people, which he has himself realized with direct knowledge. This also is a very standard passage, repeated in many sutras, to describe the way how the Buddha was, how he teaches Dhamma. He teaches the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, that is Adi Kalyana, that is excellent in the beginning, good in the middle, Madhya Kalyana, good in the end, Pariyosana Kalyana, with the right meaning and phrases, Sattang, Sabyanjanam, and he reveals the holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. Parisuddham Brahmacharyam Pakaseti. So now it is good to see such arahants. So this is what Chanki heard. So Brahmins householders of Upasada set forth from Upasada in groups and bands and headed northward to God's grove, the solitary grove where the Buddha was living. Then, when these people are going, now Chanki on that occasion had retired to his upper story of his palace for his midday rest. Then he saw the Brahmins, householders of Upasada, setting forth from Upasada in groups. So you can see that through his window he saw these people going to see going somewhere. So then he was so inquisitive, he asked the minister, his minister, to go and find out where these people are going. Then they said they are going to see the Buddha. Then when minister came and returned this, Chanki says, please wait, sirs. The Brahmin Chanki will also go to see the recluse Gautama. So this minister returned and told people. When he went and reported this to Chanki, and Chanki said he also wanted to go, then he returned to people and said, please wait, Chanki is coming, Brahmin Chanki. So they waited. Then Then these people heard the Brahmin Chanki, it is said, is going to see the recluse Gautama. Then they went to Brahmin Chanki and asked him, "Sir, is it true that you are going to see the recluse Gautama?" "So it is, sir. I am going to see the recluse Gautama." Now there is a very interesting conversation. These people try to persuade Chanki not to go, because Chanki has these qualities, reasons. And they said Chanki was well born on both sides, from maternal side and paternal side. This is very important criterion for a Brahmin to become very prominent person in his community. Number one is he must be of high caste. For this reason they said he should not go to see the Master Gautama, but Master Gautama must come and see him. Then they said Brahmin Chanki is rich because he possesses a great wealth endowed from his tradition, and King Kosala has bestowed that honor on him by giving all this. Then this is another reason for him not to go to see the Buddha. Then they said Brahmin Chanki was a learned person. He has learned 3 Vedas. 3 Vedas are Rig, Yajur and Sama. Later they add another Veda to make it 4 Vedas, that is Atharvan Veda. But this time they had only 3 Vedas in Hindu tradition. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda and Sama Veda. So Brahmin Chanki was master of all these 3 Vedas, and they said therefore he should not go and see the Buddha. In addition, he also, together with these Vedas, he also had learned vocabulary, liturgy, phonology, etymology and history. These are the 5 subjects they are supposed to know. They have to have very good vocabulary to talk and teach, because Brahmin's duty is to teach. They should not have a poor vocabulary. And liturgy, they are chanting and incantations and so forth should be very good. Their phonology also should be good. Etymology, to analyze words, phrases, grammar and so forth. They must know the roots and so forth. And they should know history. This is number 5. And Chanki was well versed in philosophy, in Hindu philosophy. And he knew grammar quite well. And therefore he also knew natural philosophy, and therefore he was a well-respected person. Moreover, he has comeliness, personal beauty, handsomeness. This is another reason that he should not go to see the Buddha. And he has virtues, sila, mature in sila, possessing maturity in sila. So he should not go and see the Buddha. He was a matured person, older person. And he also was a good orator, good speaker. with good delivery, because he knows the language, he knows the grammar, he knows the diction and everything, accent and all that is necessary. He knew everything, so he was a good speaker. And he was very polite, courteous. That is another reason that he should not go and see the Buddha. Moreover, he is a teacher of teachers. Guru. Not only just a teacher, but he is a teacher's teacher. And he has 300 students, Brahmin students. These students are not of any lower status of the society. These students also are Brahmin students, coming from very, very high class of the society. Not 10 or 20, but 300 of them. And he is very highly honored, respected, revered, venerated, and esteemed by King Pasenadi Kosala. So he is not an ordinary person. For this reason, they said he should not go. And he is revered, venerated, respected, honored by Pokkarasadi, another very big Brahmin. So Chanki was not persuaded. He said, well, sir, still I must go and see the Buddha. And he found in the Buddha more qualities for him to go and see the Buddha. And he said, Buddha also comes from well-born on both sides, pure maternal and pure paternal. Up to 7 generations. Buddha came from a Sakyan family, pure bred, not hybrid. So, and unsurpassable, impeccable in respect of birth. So this is what Chanki said about the Buddha. And the Buddha also inherited a lot of wealth. But his greatness comes not by possessing the wealth, but his greatness comes from abandoning the wealth. Chanki's greatness came from holding the stocks. Buddha's greatness came from giving up stocks. And he said Buddha also is handsome, comely, but he abandoned everything. Black-haired young man, endowed with the blessings of youth, in the prime of life, he left everything and put on yellow robe, and left homeless, left the home though his mother and father wished otherwise, and wept with tearful faces. And that is one reason, another reason that he should go and see him. And the Buddha is perfect in morality. That is good reason for him to go and see him. Buddha also is a very good speaker, very erudite speaker. And he can persuade people to abandon unwholesome things and perform miracles. Desna patihara. That is the miracle that Buddha even recommended us to perform. And Buddha, he said, is very courteous, very polite, and very distinct, flawless, and communicate the meaning. And Buddha is not only teacher of human beings, but he is a teacher of both humans and divine beings. And Buddha is vita raga, no attachment, no vanity, no attachment to sensual pleasure. Then Buddha had, as he said, impeccable morality, and he has avihimsa, compassion, and he comes from aristocratic family, and people visit him from afar, very far away places to see him, and he is very famous, and he is perfectly enlightened. So he repeated the same thing, that he is accomplished, fully enlightened, perfect, in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, and so forth. And Buddha also is accomplished with 32 physical marks, which Chanki did not have. Having said all these things, you see, Gautama's Samana Gautama, now still they don't call him the Buddha, still they call him Samana Gautama. Samana Gautama, after all, is our guest. He came to our village. It is our duty to go and see a visitor, the guest. Not we should expect guests to come and see us. These are the reasons for him to go and see the Buddha. So when he went there, and Buddha was having a discussion with him, Chanki and Pokrasadi and other Brahmins, merchants, rich people and so forth. There came a 16-year-old man, young 16-year-old teenager. When the 16-year-old came, and he was full of energy, lot of arrogance, and he began to interrupt the conversation between the Buddha and other Brahmins. So Buddha reprimanded him, don't interrupt this conversation. Then Chanki said to the Buddha, this young man is also he was a master of the 3 Vedas, just like Chanki, with their vocabulary, liturgy, phonology, etymology, history, and so forth, philosophy, grammar, and all this. And therefore, Chanki said, Master Gautama, let not the Venerable Gautama reprimand this young man. Let not Master Gautama rebuke the Brahmin students, Karpatika. This young man's name is Karpatika. Brahmin's carpenter student is a classman. He is very learned. He has a good delivery. He is wise. He is capable of taking part in the discussion with Master Gautama. Then Buddha thought, hey, okay, no problem. If he is better than you, it is better even for me. Because Buddha liked to have discussions with very wise individuals. So Buddha said, surely, since the Brahmin honor him thus, the Brahmin student's carpenter must be accomplished in the scriptures or the three Vedas. Then this young man, carpenter, thought, as soon as the Buddha caught his eyes, he would ask him a question. And Buddha knew his thought, and then straight away he looked at him, right in his eyes. Then he thought, recluse Gautama has turned towards me. Suppose I ask him a question. This is his question. And from this point onward, conversation and the discussion, the material we are going to discuss is very interesting. Master Gautama, in regard to the ancient Brahmins' hymns that have come down through oral transmission, and in the scriptures, scriptural collections, the Brahmins come to the definite conclusion. Only this is true, anything else is wrong. What does Master Gautama say about this? This is very a traditional belief that if something comes from oral tradition, that must be highly respected. So Karpatika was of that view, of that belief, and he said the Vedas are most authentic. It came down from their oral tradition. Therefore, that must be very true. This is called Yamidam Bhogotam Brahmananam Puranam Mantapadam Itihisa Paramparai Pitak Sampadaya Tattvache Brahmana Ete Santi Nittang Gachanti Idameva Satyam Mogamanyanti. That is the passage you have to remember. Idameva Satyam Mogamanyanti. This is true. Everything else is false, wrong. Idameva Satyam Mogamanyam. Mogham Anyam. All others are foolish. Then Buddha questioned him. How then Bharadwaja, among the Brahmins is there even a single Brahmin who says thus, I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong? Buddha asked him this question. Is there any Brahmin, a single Brahmin, who says, who can say, I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything. Now, what is the criterion here? he must say, I know this, I see this. Only when you know and see, you can say, this is true. Everything else is false. So Buddha asked him very directly, is there any Brahmin who can say, I know and I see, and therefore this is true, everything else is wrong? So this man said, no, Master Gautama. How then, Bharadwaja, among Brahmins there is even a single teacher or single teacher's teacher, back to the 7th generation of teachers, who says thus, I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong. So, if one Brahmin cannot say that, at least his teacher should be able to say that. His teacher's teacher should be able to say that. Or his teacher's teacher's teacher should be able to say that. So Buddha asked, up to 7 generations, is there any person, teacher, can say, I know this, I see this, this is the only truth, everything else is false? So again this young man said, Kapattika said, no, Master. Now this young man said, in our tradition, teachers, the Brahmins, teachers, and ancient Brahmins. So he pointed out Brahmins, teachers, and ancient Brahmins. Then Buddha asked, ancient Brahmins says, the creator of the hymns, the composers of the hymns, whose ancient hymns that were formerly chanted, uttered, and compiled, the Brahmins nowadays still chant and respect, repeating what was spoken and reciting what was recited. That is, then he gave the whole list of ancient teachers, ancient Brahmins, ancient teachers. List is Atthaka, Vamana, Vamadeva, Vesamitta, Jamataggi, Angi Rasa, Bharadwaja, Vasetta, Kassapa, and Bhagu. These are very famous teachers in those days, and he named all of them, naming them. He asked, did even these ancient Brahmins seers say thus, we know this, we see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong? No, Master Gautama. So, see where the Buddha is driving him. Then Buddha asked Bharadwaja. The name of this Kapattika comes from the family called Bharadwaja family. And among these very famous teachers, also there is one Bharadwaja. This young fellow belongs to that family. You see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th name in this list is Bharadwaja. So Kapattika belongs to that tradition, that family. Therefore Buddha called him Bharadwaja. So Bharadwaja, it seems that among the Brahmins there is not even a single Brahmin who says thus, I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong. And Buddha went on asking him, their teachers, not even single one can say, I know this, I see this, and so forth. And their teachers, and so forth. Nobody can say definitely that I see, I know, and this is true, everything else is false. Now this boy was talking about the efficacy of oral tradition, the authenticity, authority of oral tradition. So it is this oral tradition, this authority that Buddha questioned. So people say, this is in our tradition, we believe in this, we know this. So Buddha questioned this. So to Bharadwaja, in regard to their statements, the Brahmins seem to be like blind men, the file of blind men. The first one does not see, the middle one does not see, and the last one does not see. What do you think, Bharadwaja? That being so, does not the faith of the Brahmins turn out to be groundless? It is very, very beautiful simile. The blind leads blind. Blind leads blinds. First blind doesn't see, the middle blind doesn't see, and the last blind doesn't see. So, this is the paradise of blinds. So Buddha says, the Brahmins honor this not only, this Kapatika says, now he now is getting into deeper trouble. In his defense he came up with another reason. The Brahmins honor this not only out of faith, Master Gautama, they also honor it as oral tradition. Then Buddha said, Bharadwaja, first you took your stand on faith. Now you speak of oral tradition. Oral tradition is actually parampara. No, oral tradition anusava. Anusava. The other is parampara. Anusava you have heard something from somebody. And then you hear it is what you call sort of a rumor. You hear somebody says, and then you believe it and you repeat it, and then the third person repeats to somebody, and fourth person repeats, and so forth. It comes from word of mouth. When it goes to 10th, 15th or 20th person, what you have started would be totally, completely distorted, and finally you would hear something totally different. There is a very famous joke in Sri Lanka. The story is throwing up 7 crows. Vomiting 7 crows. What happened was a drunkard threw up on a feather of a crow. So another man saw it, and he went, and he did not see him throwing, but he saw him throwing up, but it landed on a little, feather of a crow. Then he saw the feather as well as the vomit. And he went out and said, I saw so and so vomited the crow's feather. Then the second person said, so and so, I heard so and so said that so and so vomited a crow. So the second person added another crow, third person added another crow. When it went to the seventh person, it ended up throwing up 7 crows. I mean, this is very, very true. When I was one day I went to Malaysia, one monk said, in this area, there is a lady, she took 7 frogs from a man's stomach. Without operating, she just did her magic and touched him and took 7 frogs from his stomach. And she is still there. I said, really? Oh yes, you like to see? Yes, I like to see. I went with him. We walked miles and miles. Sure enough, that there were many, many cars. And we went in. This lady was there, sitting in a very comfortable chair. And she spoke some English, Chinese lady. She gave us 2 chairs to sit down. And we sat just next to her. We want to get very close to her to see what she was doing. Many people lined up, they were sitting, and there was a huge stack of eggs. And she takes an egg, and she was talking with us, where did you come from, what are you doing, why are you doing here, and so forth. Just, why are you here, what are you doing here, and so forth. She was having very casual conversations with us. And then she broke an egg. Nothing. Then threw another egg. Broke. When she broke several eggs, she found in one egg little hardened part of the white of the egg. It is little hard. Then the man is sitting there. What she did, she first rubbed the egg on his body. The particular part, he says, I have a lot of pain here. So she would rub the egg here, and then she breathed again from pain. Finally, when she saw this hardened part of the white of the egg, she said, here you are, cholesterol. I removed it. And he pays her due and goes away. Another man said, I have a lot of pain here. Okay. She did the same thing. And occasionally she found, blood in the embryo of the egg. And she said, here you have blood clot. I removed it. So he paid her dues and goes. This is what she was doing. And you know how the blood is there in the embryo, in the eggs. When you break eggs, so many eggs you break, you know how blood comes to the embryo. How some white parts is hardened in the egg. But this lady has been fooling people this way, and they believe. And she also has many certificates all around her room. All happens because of the word of mouth, by mere hearsay. Saint Buddha said, first you talk about faith, now you talk about mere hearsay, oral tradition. And then Buddha says, there are 5 things, Bharadwaja, that may turn out in 2 different ways, here and now. These 5 things we must remember. They are, in Pali, Saddha, Ruchi, Anussava, Akara Parivitaka, and Ditti Nijjhana Khanti. Perhaps it is too fast for you. Let me say it in English. First is faith. Second is approval. Third is oral tradition. Fourth is reasoned thought. it is translated as reason cogitation. Cogitation is not the common word that they use. I don't think people use the word cogitation. I have not heard people, I have cogitated. So and so was cogitating. I heard people saying, I think, I'm thinking, and so forth. Reason thinking and reflective acceptance. Reflective acceptance in Pali is nijjhana khanti. Nijjhana, ditti nijjhana khanti. Ditti means view. Nijjhana means concentration. You focus your mind on something very ardently, very intensely, until you come up with some view, belief. That is called ditti nijjhana khanti. So you come to a view, a belief that after pondering, reflecting, concentrating on something for a long period of time. So these are the 5 things. And these 5 things can turn out to be in two different ways. We take one, for example, faith. So Buddha says, now something may be fully accepted out of faith, yet it may be empty, hollow, and false. You see, it can be empty, hollow, and false. On the other hand, but something else may not be fully accepted out of faith. We reject it. We don't accept it out of faith. But that thing may be factual, true, and unmistaken. You see, we accept something out of faith, thinking that this must be true. It turned out to be completely false, not true, incorrect. And there may be something that we reject, no faith, we don't trust it. But that thing we threw away, did not have any trust and faith in it, may turn out to be factual, true, and unmistaken. These are the 2 ways that faith turns out to be. Second is approval, the same thing. Something may be fully approved and we accept it to be true, but it may turn out to be empty, hollow, and false. Something we do not approve, it may be factual, true, or unmistaken. Third example, transmitted, oral transmission, oral tradition. Number 3, oral tradition also we may believe to be factual, true, but unmistakable, but it may turn out to be empty, hollow, and false. There may be something which is not coming from oral tradition, which may be factual, true, and unmistaken. Fourth, well thought, cogitated, or well thought. Something we have well thought, we may have some kind of deluded, distorted a perception, distorted way of thinking, and with this distortion we thought very carefully, and that may turn out to be false, empty, hollow and false. But there may be something we accept casually without much thinking. That may turn out to be true, factual and unmistakable. Similarly, something we have very carefully pondered over, concentrated, focused our mind for a long period of time, may turn out to be empty, hollow and false. But something we have not so well concentrated may be factual, true and unmistaken. So therefore none of these things is a criterion of accepting something or judgment to make something to accept as truth, and therefore Buddha rejected. Buddha rejected all faith, approval, oral tradition, reasoned thought and careful reflection as criteria of accepting something. They can be false, wrong. Then, Karpatika, in what way is there the preservation of truth? Then Buddha used the phrase just to prompt Karpatika to ask a question. What the Buddha said, it is not proper for a wise man who preserves truth to come to a definite conclusion. Buddha just injected this word, preservation, preserve, to make young man think. Then he took the clue and asked the question. But Master Gautama, in what way is there the preservation of truth? Now, in this discourse, Buddha talked about preservation of truth and arriving at truth and realizing the truth. These three steps we must remember: preservation, arriving and realizing. So the first thing Buddha wanted to show this young man, how to preserve the truth. That is why he started with this part, asking, telling this, since this young man was very intelligent, Buddha wanted to start the conversation in right direction. Up to this point, Buddha refuted his original views. Now Buddha started his conversation in a different way. It is not proper for a wise man who preserves truth to come to a definite conclusion. Only this is true, anything else is wrong. Then this young man asked this question: how does one preserve truth? We asked Master Gautama about the preservation of truth. Then the Buddha talked about faith. Although he rejected the faith at the beginning, now Buddha uses the word faith. If a person has faith, this is very, very important things to remember. If a person has faith, Bharadwaja, he preserves truth when he says, my faith is this. That's all he says. this is my faith. But he does not say anything beyond that. Buddha said, but he does not yet come to the definite conclusion. Only this is true, anything else is false. So the person does not say, this is my faith, and period, stop. He does not say, this is my faith, this faith is the true faith, or what I believe is true. Then he falls into trapped, into a problem. Only he must say, if he has faith, he must say, this is my faith, period, finish, kaput, no more. But if he goes anything beyond that, he gets into trouble. And again, if he says, if a person approves something and he says, this is what I approve, finish. Don't say what I approve is the truth. What I don't approve is not the truth. Don't say that. Then, if he says he receives an oral tradition, he might say, this is what I have received as my oral tradition. I follow my oral tradition. He is preserving the truth. But if he says, this is my oral tradition and this oral tradition is the truth, then he gets into trouble. Don't say anything beyond that. Simply stay saying, this is my oral tradition, I accept it, I follow it. So to that degree, that extent, he preserves the truth. If he tries to defend his oral tradition and reject everything else, then he gets into trouble. Similarly, this is what I have well taught. This is what I have well taught. Finish. And don't say that this is what I have well taught, therefore this must be true. If you say, therefore it must be true, then you get into trouble. We should not say, because I taught quite well, and therefore it must be true. You may have taught very well with distorted perception, with wrong information, following certain biases, prejudices. Chanda, dosha, bhaya, moha, desire, anger, fear, confusion. These things can affect your thinking. With these thoughts, with these emotions, you might have thought very well thought. But still you cannot say what you have thought is the truth and something right. And you may say, this is my reflective acceptance, meaning this is what I have very well focused, concentrated, contemplated for long period of time. It's all right. It is all right. You are entitled to that. But if you say, because you have contemplated on it, concentrated on it, what you have concentrated, what you have thought, reflected is true. You can simply say, yes, I concentrated. That is true. And you cannot say only this is true, anything else is wrong. So, Buddha concluded, in this way, Bharadwaja, there is the preservation of truth. In this way, he preserves the truth. He is very honest to admit, this is all I know. Perfect. But that person gets into trouble. That is why many people who have faith, just faith, you can never persuade them to accept the truth, and they said, they vow, they sacrifice, they will kill themselves, thinking that my belief is right. What I believe is right. Everything else is wrong. That is the whole problem in the world today. They kill anybody to preserve their faith, not the truth, because the faith is not the truth. Faith is just faith. Okay? So this man, now Chanki is out of the picture now. Only this carpenter, young man, took over the conversation with the Buddha, and carpenter just, faced out. So carpenter asked the Buddha, we asked Master Gautam about the discovery of truth, how we discover the truth. Then Buddha tells him, suppose there is a bhikkhu living in a village, depending on people. So someone who wants to discover the truth, maybe a householder or his son, goes there and investigates him in regard to 3 kinds of states. This is the step 1. 3 kinds of states. What are the 3? In regard to the state based on greed, in regard to state based on hate, and in regard to state based on delusion. So, when he and there is in this village any state based on venerable one, any states based on greed, such that with his mind obsessed by those states, while not knowing he might say, I know, while not seeing he might say, I see, and he while might urge others to act in a way that would lead to their harm and suffering for a long time. Now, out of greed, without knowing, without seeing, this individual says something which leads to others' harm for long period of time. But this particular individual, living in a remote village, depending on somebody, others' food, lodging and so forth, this householder goes to him and finds out, but this individual, this monk, this bhikkhu, says things in such a way that there are no such states based on greed in this venerable one. The bodily behavior and the verbal behavior of these venerable ones are not those of one affected by greed. By associating, by seeing, one can observe and understand whether that person's words or behavior is influenced, affected by greed. And if not, the person can conclude, yes, this venerable one does not have greed and does not say things with greed, does not behave in a very greedy way, and the Dhamma that this Venerable One teaches is profound, hard to see and hard to understand, peaceful and sublime, unattainable by mere reasoning. This is what is called tanhakkhayo, subtle, to be experienced by the wise. This Dhamma cannot easily be taught by one affected by greed. This is the first step. Just watch and see whether the teacher is full of greed and what he says misleads others and make their future more painful for long period of time. And if not, you can conclude this Venerable One does not have greed. He does not tell things to people. That means he does not lie. Not knowing, he does not say, I know. Not seeing, he does not say, I see. But he says, I know, I see, because he saw and know. And that means he is not affected by greed. Then the second, he goes and investigates and he finds the same thing. There are in this Venerable One any state based on hate, such as that, such and such. Then he concludes, there are no such states based on hate in this Venerable One. So he comes to his own conclusion the same way. So he knows that this Venerable One teaches Dhamma without hate, without criticizing, without attacking, without insulting anybody. He simply teaches the Dhamma. There is a very beautiful discourse in this book itself. Is called Arana Vibhanga Sutta. Arana Vibhanga Sutta. If you remember the sutta, later you may read it. In that sutta, Buddha tells us how to teach Dhamma without attacking anybody. If we teach Dhamma if we attack somebody while teaching Dhamma, it shows that we have hatred in us. If we teach Dhamma, pure Dhamma, then we do not hate, we do not express any hateful word. We do not attack anybody, any religion. We simply teach the Dhamma. So if somebody does that, then when you observe that individual, you conclude that this person does not have hatred. This person's heart is full of love and compassion. He does not have hate. Number 3, when he has investigated him as seen that he is purified from the state based on hate. Next, he investigates him in regard to states based on delusion. And again, he watches and very carefully and concludes that this individual, this venerable monk, does not have, it can be venerable, non-venerable monk, it doesn't matter, we just use one word here, does not have delusion. The bodily behavior is without delusion, verbal behavior is without delusion. The teacher, the Dhamma he or she teaches is without delusion. Then follows 14 other steps. These 14 also are very important to remember. 13 of them is to arrive the truth. The 14th is realize the truth. What are the 13? To arrive the truth. As he associates with him, then when he has investigated him and has seen that he is purified from state based on delusion, now based on greed, based on hatred, based on delusion, he knows that his statements, his behavior, his words are free from greed, hatred and delusion. Then he places faith in him. That is number one. How does faith arise in us? By seeing our Venerable One without greed, hatred and delusion. And we aspire to that state. And we are delighted, our heart lights up. Faith is called saddha. Saddha means cleansing factor, clean the mind with open heart. Number one. Number two, filled with faith, he visits. Number two is visiting. Visiting him. Number three, pays respect to him. Pairupasati. In case you want to know the Pali words, I just read the Pali words if you are interested. First is called Saddha. Second is called Upasankamati, visits. Third is Payurupasati. Actually it is translated as pays respect. Payurupasati means association. You associate with the person more closely. Number four, Sotang odahati. Sota means ear, odahati means bend. Bend. Number four, he gives ear. When he gives ear, number five, he hears the Dhamma. Dhammang sunati. Dhammang sunati. Having heard the Dhamma, number six, he remembers. Dhareti. Dhareti. Remembers what? Remembers what he has already studied. Then, after remembering what he has studied, number seven, examines the meaning of the teachings he has memorized. Dhatanam dhammanam attang upaparikkati. Dhatanam dhammanam attang upaparikkati. See, he examines the meaning. Number seven. When he examines their meaning, number eight, he gains reflective acceptance of those teachings. Nijjanam khamati. Two Pali words has many English words. Nijjanam khamati. Nijjana is reflecting, thinking. Khamati means tolerance, the teaching. Then then when he has gained reflective acceptance of those teachings, Chandang, number nine, Chandang janeti, zeal springs up. Will arises. Chandang janeti. When zeal has sprung up, number 10, he applies his will. Ussahati. Chandajato ussahati. Having applied his will, number 11, he scrutinizes it. That is tulayati. Tulayati, tulana actually is, he weighs, we call kiranama in Sinhalese. We weigh it to see how good it is. Tulayati. Having scrutinized, number 12, he strives. That is padahati. You read the word padahati in the fourfold efforts. Strives. Anuppannana kusalanam dhammanam uppadaya chandang janeti vayamati viryanga arvati chittam paggannati padahati. In that formula you can see padahati. Padahati means strives. Then, resolutely striving, he realizes with the body the supreme truth and sees it by number 14, I don't want to say now. Number 13, this is number 13. Number 13 is Paramasacchang Sacchikaroti. Kayena che Paramasacchang Sacchikaroti. That is, with the body, the supreme truth, and sees it by penetrating number 14. Now, penetrating is the last one, which is Satcha Anubodha, that is realizing. Up to number 13 is approach, arrival. You arrive at truth. Now, Kayena Passati, Pahitatu samano Kayena che Paramasacchang Sacchikaroti. Kayena cheva Paramasacchang Sacchikaroti. Sees the truth with the body, meaning sees the truth in these 5 aggregates. There we see the truth in these 5 aggregates. Nowhere else. Truth does not hang from clouds by a string, or it doesn't come with the sunrise and sunset, doesn't come with the stars and trees and winds and snow and so forth. Truth doesn't come like that. Truth is in us, in these 5 aggregates. Parama Satchang Kayena Cheva. Kayena Cheva, Kayena Cheva. Eva means only. Only in the body. Parama Satchang Satchikaro. This word, this very simple, small, what do you call, preposition or little word, preposition maybe, is not translated into English. It is simply said, they simply ignore it. But this little supportive little word has very powerful meaning. Kayena cha eva, only in these 5 aggregates. Only in these 5 aggregates. Form, feeling, perception, thoughts, volitional formations, and volitional formations, consciousness. And in many places in Samyutta Nikaya, Buddha said, I teach you all, Buddha said, I teach you all. Sabbang desissami. Kincha bhikkhave sabbang rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana. I teach you all. And all form, feeling, perceptions, volitional formations and consciousness. So the truth we see, where do we see the Noble Eightfold Path? In us. Where do we see suffering? In us. Cause of suffering? In us. End of suffering? In us. So this word kayena passati has not been heavily emphasized in any translation. Because we always must come inside. Ehi passika means come inside, within ourselves, to see this truth in ourselves. Supreme truth and sees by penetrating it with wisdom. By penetrating it with wisdom is the last stage, that is called Satya Anubodha, realization of truth. So Bharadwaja asked the Buddha, after all this, in this way, Bharadwaja, there is the discovery of truth. See, this is the discovery of truth. In this way one discovers truth. In this way we describe the discovery of truth. But as yet there is no final arrival at truth. Then Kapatika asked the Buddha, in what way does one finally arrive at truth? We asked Master Gautama. Then Buddha said, final arriving at truth, Bharadwaja, lies in the repetition, development, cultivation of those same things. That is bhavana, asevana, bhavana, bahulikarana, satyanupatti. That is why asevana, bhavana, bahulikarana. 3 words. Asevana, repetition, bhavana, development, and bahulikarana, making it, that word is not translated here. Cultivation is what you call bhavana. No, bahulikam is development, cultivation, bhavana development, right? So, asevana, bhavana, bahulikarana. These are 3 words, right? Asevana means repetition, bhavana development, bahulikarana, cultivation. When you have to bring out the image of cultivation. When we cultivate, what happens? You cultivate maybe handful of grain. You sow a handful of grain. Then what happens? You get 1 bushel of grain. That is what happens when we cultivate. Cultivation means multiplying. multiply. More we cultivate, more we multiply. So we have to keep that image in mind when we say cultivate, bhavana. Bhavana means increasing, the wholesome things keeps increasing. Bhavana. And this is how one finally arrives at truth. So this man once again asked the Buddha, we asked Master Gautama about the things most helpful for final arrival. Then Buddha repeated the whole series from number 13, then went to 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. You look at the list, and if you numbered them, it will be very easy for you to go backward. End up in Saddha. Okay? Have you numbered it in your book? Okay. Then it is very easy for you to go backward to number 1. So begins with number 1, ends with number 1. Because it is just like the relay chariot. Remember that Ratha Vinita Sutta, relay chariot? One depends upon the other. And similarly, this whole series is dependent upon the other. When you have saddha, you have next step. And then you have next step and so forth. And then when you arrive at the truth, and you begin to cultivate, multiply and so forth, and then that depends on penetrating it by through wisdom, and that depends on the bodily realization within this body itself, and that depends on striving, it depends on scrutinizing, that depends on applying will, chanda, and that depends on zeal, and it depends on the mindful reflective acceptance, which depends on examining, that depends on memorizing Dhamma, and that depends on the hearing the Dhamma by paying attention, it depends on visits, that depends on faith, faith depends on association, seeing whether this individual has greed, hatred or delusion. See? If you establish faith in this way, you never lose it. Because it arises from your own conviction. You followed the steps. And you can say, this is how I arrived at truth. This is how I realize it. Not by mere faith. So friends, I think we can end this sutta like this. And finally this young man, just like anybody else, said, from today, let Master Gautama remember me as a lay follower who has gone to him for refuge, for life. He went to the Buddha for refuge, for life. He was committed to life with the Buddha.